This is how I would rank a Christmas light installation company in 2026. We're going to go over 7 phases. The first phase we're going to go over is keyword research. Second phase is going to be the Google Business Profile. Third is going to be your website structure. Fourth is going to be on-page optimization. Then we have the sixth, which is going to be schema. And last phase is going to be about trust signals that you need to put on your website. So when we go to do SEO, we first need to know what are people actually searching for in search, right? So when someone goes and types into Google the service that they're looking for, how do they think about the service? How are they searching in Google for that specific service? Now with Christmas light or Christmas light installation, it's pretty easy. There's really no ambiguity with what people are searching for. So one of the ways that we can do this is we can use the words that our ideal clients use, right? So whenever you're talking to them about the service, what words are they using? Because this will give you a clear indication of, okay, so every conversation I have, these are the things that they're mentioning. These are the keywords that I should consider targeting. Another way is, so whenever they speak about how they found you, so they're like, hey, oh, I searched light installation near me, then we know, okay, hey, that's one of the keywords we should be considering. The other thing is, let's say I called 5 other light installation companies near me or light installers near me, you're the only one that picked up. Then we have another idea of, oh, okay, so that's what they're searching for in Google. This will give us more confidence that this is the keyword we should be targeting. Now, if you already have your website set up, you already have a Google Business Profile set up, what we can also do is in your Google Search Console data, we can start to see the impressions your website is already getting. And this can help us give more confidence in what keywords we should be targeting. When you go on your Google Business Profile, what you see is when you go under performance and you scroll down a little bit, there's a little section on the right side that will tell you the impressions your Google Business Profile is getting for when people search. Another thing that we can do is, if you already have a Google Business Profile and you already have a whole bunch of reviews, what we can do is we can look through your reviews and get an idea of what your customers think about the service or how they would describe the service in their own words and what they actually call the service. Now, let's say you don't have a Google Business Profile, you don't have a website, you're just starting. So what you can do is you can go to the competitors and you can look through their review data. From their review data, we can get an idea of what do people consider this service? What do they think about the service? Now, another thing we can do by looking through this review data is if we filter by the lowest rating reviews, we can get a really great idea the pain points your ideal customers experience. Now, why would we want to do this? We want to do this because what we can then do is in our copy or in the text on the page, we can address those very specific pain points immediately so that when your ideal customer lands on that page, they're already made aware that you're going to address those very specific pain points. Something that I saw when I was putting this all together is that a lot of the times homeowners complain that there are holes left in their roof after the light installers come through and install everything. So very clearly on our website, what we can do is that's the first thing they see, no holes left in your roof. And what I'll do here is I also built a demo site. I will go to illustrate this. And so what we can see right here is I'm immediately addressing that concern of theirs by having these little taglines addressing their pain points. Now, having all of this impression data on when your Google Business Profile is showing up, the impression data on when your website shows up in Google Search Console is great. But This doesn't mean that those are the keywords that we want to target. When it comes to targeting the keyword that you're considering, what you want to do is you want to have multiple sources of truth or multiple sources of data to help you build the confidence that this is the keyword I should be targeting. So not only can we use what our ideal customers are saying, we can look at their review data and how they write and how they speak about the service. We can look at our Google Business Profile. But what we can also do is we can go and look in the Google Ads Keyword Planner, and this will actually give us a rough guide on the total amount of search volume certain keywords get. Not only can we go do that, but we can also go look at Google Trends. Google Trends will tell us a little bit of the seasonality when there are peaks and lows of this specific service. And together, all of this is going to give us more confidence in the keyword that we need to be targeting. It's also going to give us a very good idea of what our customer thinks about the service and what we need to be addressing on our pages. So another hint to get the keyword that you need to be targeting is type your keyword into Google. What is it autofilling with? This is telling us, oh, other people search these terms. Google recognizes the beginning of our search query that it matches these other commonly searched terms. Not only that, but when you actually hit enter and then Google shows the search results page, go through and see everything that is bolded on the page. And that gives you another layer of confidence, another layer of evidence that these are the keywords I want to be targeting. Not only that, these are the keywords that I want on page. Google does not bold these terms for no reason. Google bolds these terms in the search results page because they are relevant to the search query. So now, when we are looking at Google Trends is not the search volume that keyword gets. So whenever you go to type that keyword in and you start looking at the graph, that is not the amount of search volume that word is getting, right? So when you go look at this, what it will show is that depending on the keyword you place, you can see graphs that are in the low like 10s, 20s, 30s. You can see graphs similar to what's on my screen right now, where you have these peaks and they're very seasonal, right? So for Christmas light installation, it's very seasonal. So in every December, it hits 100. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is that the total amount of search volume that Christmas light installation gets during these very specific times of the year, this is when it's searched for the most. Now, when you look at these other tools, or when you look at keyword ad planners or keyword tool planners, they're going to show you rather like monthly or an annual basis of what they think the search volume is for this keyword. Now, what Google Trends will do is it will help you understand the seasonality or when there are peaks in the search volume for these keywords. Now, when we're doing this keyword research, what we also want to do is we want to split these into almost like 3 buckets, just so we keep them separated, have an idea of what they mean. So as an example, the head terms or the surface itself right here, we can see is Christmas light installation. You got Christmas light hanging, Christmas light installers, Christmas light company. So it's the same service. It's just said many different ways. Then we have qualifiers, the words that they add onto that, right? So we've got best, professional, top, near me, after Christmas, or like holiday. Then we also have geographic. So we've got, in this example, this company is located in Pensacola. So its geographic terms are Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Destin, Navarre. We got Ferry Pass and Milton. Now, with these terms or these head terms or these different buckets, they all get their each individual pages, right? So the service pages get the service terms, get their own service pages. The qualifiers are going to be added onto those service pages. In the on-page optimization that we do, we want to include those Then for the geographic, those are going to get their own pages. So as an example, we're going to do Christmas light installation in Pensacola. Now, when we go to do on-page optimization, when we go to do SEO optimization, what you want to make sure you have in mind is that there is local intent and there are national intents. And what this means is that when you're going through the keyword research, you want to be aware of when people are searching, like if they're searching for C9 bulbs, which is a type of Christmas lights, that is more of a national term. A local term is going to be like the near me's Christmas light installation in insert city here. Those are going to be more local, and you're a local service provider, so you want to be targeting those local intent keywords. When you're going through this keyword research phase, you also are going to want to look through some of these when you're going and looking at the search volume or you're looking on Google Trends, and you want to make sure that these aren't branded keywords. What can happen is that you'll have high search volume for branded keywords, and so you think, oh, those are keywords I should have on my page, when in reality, that's actually the name of someone's business. So you do not want to be targeting someone else's business name on your page. So then when we're searching in Google and we're looking at our competitors' website, what we can see is that we can look over all of their pages and get a very good idea of what factors are they using. Now, the issue here is that there's over 150,000 different ranking factors. I'm not going to cover them all. The top 10 that I will touch on are going to be the number of unique LSI words used on page, the entities in your title tag. Then you also have a number of top 100 shared factors used. Same thing so then you have it now for 200. You've got unique variations used. Then you also have the top 50 shared factors, number of distinct entities used. So now that you know about the local versus national intent, we're going to move on to phase 2. So this is phase 2 of how I would rank a Christmas light installation company in 2026. In this phase, we're going to go over the Google Business Profile. So we're going to talk about proximity. So we're going to talk about your address advantage. This is rather having a service area based business versus a physical location or a physical verified address location. We're going to talk about some of the map pack levers. We're also going to go over embedding your Google Business Profile map on your site and in any of the press releases that you get. We're going to talk about getting a second Google Business Profile. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the compliance boundaries here. So one of the top 3 pillars or columns, buckets, however you want to describe it, of ranking your Google Business Profile is proximity. How close is the profile to the person searching? This is going to dictate a lot of the times where you rank. Now, when I say where you rank, what I mean is that when someone searches for a service and it displays the 3 Google Business Profiles in the search results page, the one at the top is the first, then you have second, and you have third. So if you're super close to the person searching, you are more likely to appear in that first position. We want to appear in that first position because 30 to 40% of that time, you get the click because you're in that first position. Now, when the visibility of your profile starts to drop off is around the 4 to 5 mile radius from your profile. Next, we're going to go over the address advantage. So now there's having the verified address, or when you go to fill out your Google Business Profile, you can have it say show address. Now, if you're doing this out of your home, you can't verify the address. So what instead you're going to do is you're going to do a service area based business. Now, both of these can show up on Google. Both of these can rank. The thing that is the distinction is the verified address business is more likely to rank higher than the service area based business. Now, on your Google Business Profile, These are the levers you want to pull, or this is the information you want to display in your profile to help it rank. So the first and foremost thing is your primary category. We want to make sure that our primary category is best matched to our primary service that we offer. After that, the next thing is getting a do business as play. And what I mean by that is the second most important thing on the Google Business Profile is that in your name, you have the keyword you're trying to target. So, as an example, I would do Chris's light installation. Now, you don't want to do Pensacola Christmas light installation because it's too exact match. You want to have a branded name with that keyword. So the example I used is Chris's light installation, and that's going to be the business profile name you want. Now, when you went and filed your LLC and you didn't put the keyword in there, don't worry about it. What you can do is you can file a do business as with your state for around $40 to $60 and get the proper documentation that Google needs from you so that you can go and change your Google Business Profile name to have that keyword in it. Now, the next thing is we want to focus on reviews and your rating. There's getting review cadence, which means how many reviews are you getting weekly? How many reviews are you getting monthly? Which is going to help boost your profile. Then there's also the total amount of reviews that you have, right? So let's say you look around your competition. One has 150, one has 200, one has 60. Now, just because the total amount is high is not a guarantee that you will rank higher, but we still want to aim for higher numbers. Now, there's not only the cadence that you're getting weekly or monthly, however you want to measure it, but there's also the review content, what is placed in the review, and there's the owner's response. So typically you want 2 to 3 sentences or more in the review content from the people that are leaving reviews for you. Also, ideally, we want the keywords of the service that we offer in the review as well. Then we also want to make sure that we're responding to all of our reviews within the 24 to 48 hours. After reviews, then we have photos, especially for something so visual like Christmas light installation. We want to have a lot of photos of our previous work. This is also a ranking factor for the Google Business Profile. And this is also something that we can measure. So we can look around and look at the other Google Business Profiles in our area and see that we're at a 120 photo deficit. And so this is just another goal or something to consider to set on a weekly cadence of what we should achieve on our Google Business Profile. Next, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're listing all of our services. So when you go to your profile, you're going to want to go to edit and then edit services. And then you're going to want to list at least 15. What you're going to want to do is for each of the services that you're listing on the Google Business Profile is you want to have a slight variation of the top level keyword you're trying to target. So what I mean by this is instead of just having installation, we have installer, right? We have installing, and it's not only the verb tenses of these keywords, but what we also want to do is maybe consider having Christmas lighting contractor, Christmas light contractor, Christmas lighting consultant, Christmas lighting installation near me. Then after we have those listed on our profile, we want to go back through after we hit save and we want to edit them again. And this is where we want to add descriptions on each of those. We did a study where we looked through, I think it was like 980 Google Business Profiles. And we saw that just by listing 15 services with descriptions on each, you could beat 90% of those profiles we looked at. After doing the posts, we then want to make sure that we're going through all the attributes on the Google Business Profile. We want to go through all of the types of payments you accept, if you have parking, if you have a bathroom, and we want to make sure that the entire profile is filled out. Now, we want to embed our Google Business Profile into our website. What you want to do is you want to search your keyword. So I'm just going to do pizza near me as an example. You're going to want to go to maps. Then at maps, you're going to want to click on your profile. You're going to want to click the share icon. And then you're going to want to go to embed a map. And this is the code you want to place on your website to embed it. Ideally, I like to have it in the footer so that it's across the entire site. Not only that, for press releases, you also want to embed your website on those press releases. You want to copy the exact same code. You hand that code to your press release provider and embed it. Not only that, the link you want to place going back to your profile, you want to make sure that it's this one right here. It goes google.com/maps/place. Then it's your actual name of the business. So you're going to want a second Google Business Profile. The reason why you want this is because what happens is on your Google Business Profile, you have a 4 to 5 mile radius around the profile in which you show up in search. When you get a second one, then you have a second 4 to 5 mile radius in where you can appear for search for this second location. So you have these two locations. Not only can you appear once in search when someone searches for your keyword or your service, but when they are searching in between your profiles, like in this example right here, when they are searching for your service in between your two profiles, there are instances in which that 3-pack that shows up, you can take 2 of them. Now, if you just are appearing in the first position, you get 30 to 40% of all clicks. When you take up the first 2, you get 60%. Now, these were done by studies, but you can take up to 60% of all clicks by having those 2 profiles in certain instances in which people are searching between your 2 profiles. This is phase 3 of how I would rank a Christmas light installation company. What we're going to go over is the website architecture or website structure. We're going to go over your locations. We're going to also touch on your URL structure. Then we're going to go over the canonical, how you want to pick one type of URL, how not picking the right type of URL can lead to 4 different versions of your website. We're also going to touch on your service pages and how to do service hubs. Then we're also going to touch on your blog hub and how to do blog silos. Then we're going to touch on your internal linking between your website, between all these different pages, and how to get a full crawl depth from proper internal linking. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look over the location pages. Now, what we can see here is from the live demo site that I made, this is a service area hub. On this, we're going to have links to all of our other pages that are our other service areas. So as we can see here, we've got 3, 6, 9, we have 11 URLs all on this page to our other service area pages. Here is one of our location pages. We've got Christmas light installation in Pensacola, Florida. We have a photo of the owner. Again, here we're addressing all of the pain points that we've seen customers experience. We're talking about our service. We're showing more photos, what we do, how we do it. We've got this review wall of a whole bunch of text. Again, talking more about our service. We've got these photos, some FAQ, and then again, we've got these areas we serve. This is our Google Business Profile embedded. So we want this hub for when Google comes by to our homepage and crawls, then we'll find our service areas hub Then it has the link to all of our service areas so that we achieve the 3-click rule of any page from the home page is discoverable in 3 clicks. So we got home page, you got the service area hub, then we have the service page. Because we do this proper internal linking through hubs, because we have these hubs, we are also interlinking all of them as well. Now, for your URL structure on your Christmas light installation company, what we want to make sure is that you have HTTPS, so we're secure. Then you have your domain. Then when you go to structure your pages or how you name your pages, we want to be aware of what that looks like URL structure wise. So what we don't want to happen is we have pensacola-light.com/install.html. You don't want to have these search query strings or query strings at all in your URL structure of it goes like question mark, city equals Gulf Breeze, and ID equals 42. You also don't want to have capitalizations in your URL structure. You absolutely have to have one canonical host of your pages. What I mean by this is that whenever someone comes and visits your site, whether that's a person or a bot, you could have 4 different versions of your URL. You could have the HTTPS version. You could have the HTTP version. You could have the version with the dub or www, or you could have it without the W. So you could have 4 different versions of your site. You want to set up the server config files to redirect these all to the one you actually want to use. So if you like having in your domain, then you want to 301 all of those to that. What you do not want to have happen is that you have all 4 versions of that URL structure available to Google, because then Google thinks that there's 4 different versions of your site. When all of these are not pointing to your specific URL structure that you want, that you have set up on your site, what happens is that you're losing link equity, and if Google visits those URLs, you don't have the 301 set up. You now have 4 duplicate versions of your site appearing to Google. So Google thinks now, okay, there's 4 exact versions of this site. This doesn't make sense. This looks like spam. And then you get deranked. Now, when we go to set up our service pages and our hubs on our Christmas light installation company's website, what we want to make sure that we do is, so from the homepage, in our header navigation, we want to have a link to our residential service hub. Then we also want to have a link to our commercial service hub. Then we have our service area hub. And then we have our blog hub. Then from these hubs, we have links to our money pages. For the blog, we have the links to our blog posts. Now, for our blog hub, our blog silo, for a Christmas light installation company, what we want to have happen is that there's this blog hub. Then we have all of these blog posts. So why have blog posts at all? Why you want to have blog posts is for relevance. So on all of these blogs that we're writing, there's geographic relevance. Then there's just relevance to the service we're trying to provide. On these blogs, what we want to do is we want to have anchor text that links back to our money pages. So as an example, on my Christmas light installation company, I will write a blog about the ultimate guide to C9 Christmas lights. In that Christmas lights blog, I will then have links to my other blogs, but in my anchor text, I will have the keyword I'm trying to target that is linking back to my money page. So my money page is Christmas light installation in Pensacola, right? That anchor text from my blog to my money page, that anchor text is going to be the keyword I'm trying to target. There is also geographic relevance. So what I will do is I will create a blog about things to do or tourist attractions. Then in that blog, I will list like 5, maybe 10 different things that people can visit to do in my city, my area, the place I'm trying to rank my page for. So I will create all of this geographic relevance. I will talk about all these things that Google knows about that are in relation to this area. And on those pages, I will do the exact same thing. I will have anchor text that is targeting my keyword I would like to rank for. So Christmas light installation in Pensacola. So on my geographic blogs, my things to do or things for tourists to visit, I will have the anchor text be Christmas light installation in Pensacola, linking to my money page, Christmas light installation in Pensacola. On my Christmas light installation company's website, I want to ensure that I have proper internal linking to achieve crawl depth. Now, what does this look like? What does that mean? In this illustration, I'll show you. So, internal linking is when you have pages on your site, whether that's service pages, you've got location pages, you've got blogs, what have you, is linking to other pages. This helps us achieve what is called crawl depth. What we're doing is we are making it as easy as possible for Google to visit our site, find all of our URLs quickly. How I achieve this is within 3 clicks of the homepage, Google should be able to find every single possible URL on your website. So how do I achieve this is I will have hubs. So in your head navigation, you'll have home and you'll have service areas. For service areas, when you clicked it, you'll be taken to a page. On that page, you will have links to all of your areas you serve. Here's an example. Right here, you can see I have 11 links to all of my service area. Now, because I do this, what happens is that from the homepage, Google will hit my website from the homepage. It will crawl the page. It'll like, okay, where are all the URLs? Okay, here's all the URLs. Okay, I've got all these URLs. I'm going to place these into a queue where I come back later to crawl those. Okay, I'm going to grab all of those URLs. Now, because I have this hub, instead of having this chain link of links, as an example, so let's consider this instead. I have my home page. I have a link to a page. That page links to another page with no other links pointing to it. Now that page links to another page with no external links except this one. So what Google has to do is go home, this page, which is 4 hops. What instead you want to do is you want to have home, you have the home page, hub page with all the links to these 12 other links, these other pages. So that each time Google goes boom, and then has all these links, boom, and then has those links and then goes and crawls them so that we get a full crawl depth every single time. This is how I would do the on-page optimization for a Christmas light installation company. So first thing we're going to go over are your heading tags or your heading structure. When we set up our Christmas light installation company, what we want to do is the first heading is going to be clear. It's going to be the exact keyword we're trying to target on that page. Now, as an example, I'm in Pensacola, so my page is going to go Christmas light installation in Pensacola. My second one is going to go professional Christmas light installation for Pensacola. Then we're going to keep going down in our heading structure. Next is going to be holiday lighting service area around Pensacola. Then we've also got what our Christmas light installers handle. So as an example, we can see on this site, this demo site I made, Christmas light installation in Pensacola, Florida. We've got this heading tag right here, this heading tag right here, another one, and we've got these keywords and these geographic keywords. We've got the keyword variations in these as well. We don't want all of the heading tags to be exactly the same. And what we also want to do with our heading tags is we want to break the page into chunks. So we want to break it into more heading sections. So each heading opens with a distinct subtopic of our top level keyword we're trying to target. the amount of headings we want to target is dictated by your current competition level. So when you go in Google and you search for your keyword and you go look at all your competitors who are currently ranking, they are going to tell you a lot of the time how many and of what ranking factor do I need to be using on my pages. So as an example for this one, we needed 1 H1, we needed 3 H2s, we needed 11 H3s. It's your ad copy that you get to use to describe your service so that when people are searching in Google, that's the first thing that they'll see is your title tag, that little line, and then right below it is all your copy to convert them to click. Then you have your open graph and tags. Now, what these are, when you share your URL on these social profiles, when you share your URL on these social websites, so like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, that little image that appears is sourced from your open graph and your Twitter tags. So now the keyword variations for a Christmas light installation company. So the number one on-page lesson from a ranking factor study, pages that rank don't repeat the exact same phrase over and over again. They say the same idea, but in different ways, spread through using different phrasing across each of these zones across our page. So as an example, we tore a page below here, and we can actually go and see this page as well. So as we look through this page, what you'll see are a whole bunch of different keyword variations. Right here, we've highlighted some of these. So we've got Christmas lighting, light installation, string lights, holiday lights. We also have roofline lights. Ranking factor is to have nav link variations. So navigation links are like the links in your header, the links you have on page. Having your keyword variations in those nav links are a ranking factor. Having a whole bunch of keyword variations in your paragraph tags are also a ranking factor. How you want to achieve this is throughout the copy of your website, you want to include these different keyword variations. Then you also have the inline span variations. And what I mean by this is just having those keyword variations in your inline span tags. In this example, to rank this Christmas light installation company website in Pensacola, they need 780 words or 53 sentences. They need to hit 780 words and they have to have 53 sentences. Then there's also having the keyword variations in their footer. So a good phrase mix to have across the entire body of your page are going to be 30 light installation, 12 Christmas lighting, 7 Christmas lights, 2 string lights, and then you have exact phrase. Now, for the entities you want to have on your website, first thing I want to touch on is what are entities? Entities are they are nouns that are relevant or associated with the service you provide. So Google doesn't just count the total amount of keywords you use. They will also use entities to get an understanding of what your page is about. When you have a normal conversation or when you speak about the service that you provide, these entities are naturally going to come up in a common occurrence. Google can then take that common occurrence and essentially boil it down to a math equation. So something to consider is naturally the frequency. So every 10 words, how many times do these list of words occur? Then not only that, the measured distance between the words on page to the entities being referenced to are also going to help Google understand what the page is about. Now, you can make that assertion, you can believe that, or what you can do is have the idea that, okay, Google uses these words, entities, we can measure the amount of times these are used on pages. So we'll go and search, we'll search our keyword, We'll see what's currently ranking. We'll look at those pages. Then we will measure what's on page to get an understanding of what does it currently take and in what quantities to rank our page. So as an example here, we've got Christmas lights are an entity. We have lighting's an entity. Landscape lighting is an entity. We also got LED. We have holiday season. We've got Gulf Coast. Now, each of these have their own identifiers and in different ways on different platforms. So there is the Wikidata identifier. There are Google Knowledge Graph IDs. Then you also have Wikipedia. Wikipedia will have its own articles as well. Cities can have their own entities. So these are the words, the names of the cities that we want to use on our page. An example here is when we look at this page, we've got Christmas light. We've got the entity Pensacola. We've got Christmas lights. You got Pensacola again. As we look through this page, what you're going to see is a certain amount of entities or just nouns or things that are in relation to the service that we're trying to rank for on page. So an example of measuring entities is on this page that I'm trying to rank for, I need to have 13 distinct entities. I also need to have 55 entity mentions. I need to have entities in my H2 and my H3 tags. I need 6 niche plus 4 nearby place entities. On this page, we got this data from measuring what is currently ranking. So now the LSI terms that I want to be using on my page to rank my Christmas light installation company are going to be, but first, before I tell you, I want to talk about LSI terms. What LSI terms are the words that you would use when you have a conversation with somebody else about that service or about that topic. So an example is lighting services, lighting design, holiday light, brighten, unforgettable beauty, beautiful, hassle, neighborhood, holiday season, and safety. So when we think about all of these LSI terms, what we want to think about are if you were to have 10 conversations with all different people, but you are the service provider of the service, how would you talk about that service? What is the supporting vocabulary around the service that you provide? This will help you determine what are the LSI terms or the terms that you want to be using on your page. So these terms are companion words an expert having a conversation about the service would weave in naturally into the conversation. And these LSI terms, the total amount that are on page and the frequency that they occur, are a ranking factor. So now, for my Christmas light installation company on my website, what I like to do is I like to put SEO in zones, not walls of text. And what I mean by that, let me explain a little bit. So there are there are applications, there are pages that will create what are considered in SEO skyscraper articles. Now, when you're providing a service for people, these skyscraper articles are what they'll see is just a giant wall of text, and they're more than likely instantly going to click off. Nobody wants to read a giant skyscraper article, right? What I want to do is in my copy immediately when they first get on the page is I want to address their questions. I want to address their pain points, and I want to tell them about the service that I provide. So what I do on my client sites is I will have these zones or sections on the page to where I can put all of the SEO that is not going to remove the experience I want my customer or my client's customers to have. So what I will do is I will have FAQs. So as an example, when we go on this page, we'll scroll down all the way to the bottom and we'll see that there's this FAQ section. Now, this is a great spot to address the frequently asked questions that your clients have. But not only that, what we can do is we can get a whole bunch of extra content, a whole bunch of extra SEO, LSI terms, entities. We can get a whole bunch of that on page away from our customers' eyes. We're not interfering with their experience on this page. They're not getting on here and seeing that it's a skyscraper article with 10,000 words. No, everything's hidden. So in this FAQ, I can put all of my SEO and I cannot remove the experience of my customer and trying to get my service. Another thing we can do is, and it's a big trust signal that a lot of companies will have on their pages, are you're going to have these testimonials or you're going to have this review section. I call this a review table. What we can do is we can pull the reviews off of the Google Business Profile and we can display them on the website. When they're on our website, we now have that content on our page. Having this content on our page, if we were to display keyword rich heavy review text, not only can we have those keywords on our page, this is also going to help us get our entity count up. This is also going to help get us our LSI terms up, right? Because those are all the things that are in association when talking about the service that we provide. We can go through and bold certain terms, because bolding certain keywords or entities or LSI terms is a ranking factor. We can go through all of this review content and we can bold these terms. Not only that, we can get more images of our work done on page. From those images, we can make the file name of the image have keywords, have entities, have geographic relevance, have LSI terms, whatever. In the alt text, we get another opportunity to have another 2 to 3, heck, 4, 5, 6 sentences with keywords, keyword variations, entities, LSI terms, everything that we need to do to get this page ranking. But this isn't removing the experience of my customer's journey, right? They are actually going to enjoy seeing all of this trust and seeing all of these photos of previous jobs that we've done. Another thing that we can do is we can have a team wall or a team section. So what I mean by that is in our team section, we can have nice big photos of our team members, the people that work for the company. We can have their name and a little tagline below, hey, who they are, what role they currently have in the company. Then if you were to click on their individual team wall photos, behind that photo, we can have another wall of text describing our team member, talking about what they do, how long they've been with us, etc. We then now get an opportunity to get more words on our page. And none of this is immediately present to take away from the customer's experience, right? They would have to click on the FAQ accordion. They would have to go to this review wall and scroll it to see all of the text. They would have to click on the team wall on the about of each individual team member to see all of that text. And so by us orchestrating or structuring the pages, our pages this way, we don't remove away from their experience. And we get all the SEO on our page. So we rank higher. So when they click, boom, we got a whole bunch of text here. And then we've also got all of these LSI terms, entities, keywords. We got geographic reference, and we're also building up their information for Google to understand. Here's another example of the FAQ accordion and how we have it closed by default. We can go through here, start bolding some terms. Readers don't see this, but the crawlers see all of this text, all of this data, all this information. Then also in the reviews here, so we've got the text, we've got this review wall, we've got the bolding of certain terms, and we got the photos, we can get alt text, we can get the file name to have keywords, LSI. Man. So now next, for my Christmas light installation company, we're going to talk about site speed. Now, It's touted a lot in the SEO sphere that site speed is a ranking factor. From my personal experience, it's not. But what site speed is a conversion factor? I will optimize my clients' websites with them in mind, the person that is on 3G network that is not at home on Wi-Fi, because a majority of the time, these people that are at home looking for these services can load the website quickly, and I will more likely get their business because when they come to my website, because all my images are compressed, I don't have a giant 3-minute video taking up all of their bandwidth, I'm more likely to get their business. They're not going to click my website and have to wait a whole minute for it to load. And they're, because 99% of the time, they're not going to wait. They're just going to click off and go to my competitor. So what you want to make sure is that you do have good site speed. And that can also originate in your hosting. And it can also originate how you're building your website. So why do we want to create blog content? We want to create blog content on our Christmas light installation company because we want to show topical relevance, and then we also want to have geographic relevance. And what I mean by this is that on these individual blogs, we're going to talk about our service more in depth. So we're going to have topical relevance, right? We're going to talk about Christmas lights. We're going to talk about LEDs. We're going to talk about roofs, roof lines. We're going to talk about holiday lighting. We've also got our services, maybe wrap trees. Then there's what's called geographic relevance. So we want to have relevance about the area that we serve in. So if we served in Pensacola, we also want to talk about Gulf Breeze. And we want to talk about Pensacola Bay. So we'll have a blog for things to see or things to visit while in Pensacola. And then on these blogs, because they are geographically relevant, they are going to help us signal to Google, hey, we are in this area, this geographic area that you know about. We're talking about all these things that you are well aware of, and you are well aware of where they are located. We are nearby, and we are, by feeding this information to Google, we're telling it that we want to rank in this area. Now, for off-page optimization and keyword cannibalization on Christmas light installation companies, we're going to talk about backlinks. Now, backlinks are any external site, not yours, that are linking to your site. Anything internal linking, anything in your site that's linking to other pages is called internal linking. Now, so for backlinks, anything external linking to your site is a backlink. The different websites, now, so when I say different websites, what I mean is if we were to take an example of yourdomain.com linking to your site and then Fox News linking to your site, those are different referring domains. So in that example of you have your domain and then you have Fox linking to your site, you now have two referring domain backlinks. Referring domains is the number one backlink ranking factor. So when I say that, what does that mean? If you have more referring domains linking back to your site, you're more likely to rank. Now, that is not the only ranking factor, but it is a big majority of external factors that help your site rank. A majority of the time, when we look at local search, your competitors are going to fall into two categories. Rather, they have more backlinks in a good press release, or they have less backlinks in a good press release. What do I mean by that? A good press release is going to get you anywhere from 300 to about 350 backlinks. So they rather have above that amount. They have 360, they have 400, they have 500 backlinks from different domains. So they have 500 referring domains, or they have below a threshold of a press release. They have below 300 referring domain backlinks. Do is we can go and purchase a press release and then instantly, because local search typically are going to have less than 300 referring domain backlinks, we can go and instantly beat them on that ranking factor like that. Now, the other important facts to consider when you go to get referring domain backlinks is the anchor text that's being used. Now, what do I mean by that? There will be links on the page, right? Those links on the page, the text that you click to be taken to the other site, that text that is visible, usually it's underlined or usually it's blue, is what is considered the anchor text. That anchor text that is pointing to your site helps. So what you want it to do, and for your first press release, you want to have it be your brand name, but what you also want to have is the keywords you're trying to target. So an example would be Christmas light installation in Pensacola. You want the anchor text being used to be relevant to the keyword you're trying to rank for. Then there is also what is the content on that page about. We want to have topically relevant content linking back to our pages. If the page is talking about making pool tables and we're a Christmas light installation company, we're not going to get that topical relevance boost. Now, we'll still get the referring domain, we'll still get the backlink. So now we're going to talk about keyword cannibalization for a Christmas light installation company. What keyword cannibalization is when you have two pages that are so similar, Google can't distinct which page should rank for a certain keyword. And so what can happen is, because they're so similar, they're going to fight for the same keyword. So what does that mean? What that means is, if we were to search 10 times for your keyword, half the time this page is appearing, half the time this page is appearing. So they're both fighting each other to rank and search for that keyword. That can hurt where they rank. Because if you have, let's say an example, you have 4 pages all fighting for the same keyword, Google is going to have a hard time understanding which one to rank for. And so instead of having a clear, distinct winner because your on page isn't good enough, what you have instead is you have 4 different pages all competing for the same search term. So they're naturally all going to rank lower. Now, how you can fix this is by having proper on-page optimization targeting the very specific keyword. Not only that, we also want to make sure that our pages aren't so similar that it's not clear and distinct to Google what we're trying to target. Another thing we can do is the anchor text we're using internally and the anchor text that is linking back to that page is very distinct and is targeting the specific keyword we want to rank for. And this will help you fight keyword cannibalization. So now we're going to talk about Schema for a Christmas light installation company. So what is Schema? Schema is a coding language developed by the major search engines. So you've got Google, you've got Bing, and you've got Yahoo, and you've got a couple others that all came together and created this json-ld language to help its crawlers understand what your page is about. We're going to use this schema visualizer, and what we can see here is how I'm using schema to link certain areas, certain topics, certain entities, things that Google knows about on this page in this language Google understands it and came together to create to help tell Google what services I provide, more information about me, things I'm mentioning on my website, so that it has a clear understanding of the services I provide, where I provide them, more information about me. What we're also going to do in the schema is we're going to link to these URLs. So we're going to link to these Wikipedia pages, and we're also going to link to these data pages. So when the crawlers come by our page and see our schema, they can get a better understanding of what we're about because we have it set up in a language and structured with these external links, these links pointing to these external pages that they already know about, they already have all this information about, so that they have a better understanding of what we do, where we do it, how we do it, and the keywords that we're trying to rank for. On the schema, we also want to do local business schema. So here we can see that I have the at type home and construction business. We've also got the name of my business. We've got the URLs here, the price range, the address. Now the address helps because it shows Google where we are. And so this will help us rank locally. Not only that, this address needs to match our Google business profile. Across all of these different instances or all of this information that Google has about us on our website, from our citations, it all needs to be consistent. In our schema, we're also going to talk about our hours open, the areas we serve. So in this, we're specifically talking about the cities that Google already knows about. In our schema, we also have knows about schema. So we are talking very specifically about the entities and these URL links that Google is already aware of to help us rank our pages. What we're also going to do is we're going to use Google Knowledge Graph IDs and URL structures to show that we are relevant to this specific new Google Knowledge Graph ID. So we use these Google Knowledge Graph IDs to help pin what our page is about to Google. And we use Google's Knowledge Graph IDs because Google already has this knowledge graph of information and data about these specific services or these specific entities or these LSI terms that we offer, that we have on page. Not only that, they also have all of these these knowledge graph IDs for cities, for counties, for states. So we can also link to those to help with geographic relevance. So as an example here, we have this Wikidata ID of landscape lighting. Then we also have the Freebase ID, or this is what it was before Google, of landscaping. And by linking to these, we can directly link to Google's knowledge graph of what it already knows about this topic and say, hey, we talk about these things that is relevant to us, and help us rank our page because Google has a better understanding because we're giving it all of this relevant information and telling it literally directly to our internal links or its internal information like, hey, that's relevant to us. So here's a little bit of a niche entity graph that we have going on here. So for our core, we've got Christmas lights, landscape lighting, Christmas holiday. Then for our products, we have links to these LED lamps. We've got light emitting diodes. We've got incandescent light bulbs, Christmas decoration, Christmas tree. Then we have structure. We've got roof, house, commercial buildings. And so with our local business node, what we can do is a knows about and additional types, right? So we know about landscape lighting. We know about Christmas lights. We know about lighting. Then we can also do additional types and we can link to their Wikipedia URLs. Now on our web page, what we can do is we can have about, and this page is about Christmas lights. And we're linking this to one primary topic. Then we also have mentions. So we can list very distinctly everything that we mentioned on this page. So now we're going to go on to trust and owner entity building for our Christmas light installation website. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a owner person entity, and how we're going to build this is on our about page and in our schema, we're going to talk about the owner. We're going to give Google all the possible information that it needs to create the owner entity. So Google has a clear understanding of, okay, this guy, Marcus, he knows about Christmas light installation. He knows about landscape light installation. He knows about Christmas lights. He knows about all of this information. He's an alumni of this school. He's grown up here. He's done all these things. He's the owner of this company, this Christmas light installation company. And by giving Google all of this information, it's going to build him up so that Google has a better understanding of, oh, okay, so this company has this owner. The other thing we're going to do to build up this entity, this information about the owner, is on our blogs, what we're going to do is we're going to have these little author cards. So on every single blog that is getting topical relevance, geographic relevance, authority relevance, is all going to have these author cards linking back to the owner, showing Google more that this owner not only has all this other information from our about page, but also all of these blogs were written by them. They are a knowledge expert in doing this service, in owning this company, and providing these services in this area and with these different types of products. Now, if you would like a link to this entire roadmap that I've built that goes over all 7 phases of ranking a business in Google, there will be a link down below.